All right, welcome back to Inside Texas with the Girl Herd. Today we have Aiden with us, our Longhorn feature twirler. Just graduated, huh?
Yes, ma'am. Just graduated with a degree in advertising a couple weeks ago. So super excited to get into the real world and just got back from some job interviews this weekend.
Oh, nice. I know you've been crazy busy. Thank you for coming and joining us and getting to talk about all that you have done these past few years. And then, of course, we'll talk about what you're doing now. But tell us a little bit about what it's like, what got you into this. Of course, I know you through the twirler that we had in college, Whitney, and I know she's part of the program now. But I just always thought it was fascinating watching you. You twirl around fire all the time. How does one become a twirler?
Of course, of course. So I have a little bit of an interesting story, but I'm the outgoing feature twirler here at the University of Texas. I just finished my fourth year and my final season as the Longhorn feature twirler with the Longhorn Band, or the Show Band of the Southwest. To say it was the honor of a lifetime would be a wild understatement. It has truly been the greatest blessing and the most incredible journey. So I'm so grateful. But right now I'm in full competition season. So my adventure at the University of Texas and representing the greatest university is not quite done. I still have a couple more months and I'll finish at an international competition this August in Italy. But I originally started twirling when I was in second grade. I played all the boy sports, all of the baseball, lacrosse, field hockey, soccer, softball, all of it. And I didn't have any of the kind of girly sports. I did rock climbing and diving, but I never had something that felt like super like me. So when I was in second grade or about to go into second grade, I was on a beach that I kind of grew up on, and there was someone throwing a sparkly stick in the air. And all I remember was she was wearing sparkles, there were sparkles in the air, and she was so pretty and she looked like a princess. And I asked my mom, I was like, what is that? I need to do that, whatever that is. And she was like, I don't know, you should go up to her, you should talk to her. So I went up to this high school twirler. Come to find out, she was like the homecoming queen of her high school, and she was a high school majorette. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And I so distinctly remember she got on her knees on this sandy beach on the shore, and she taught me the first trick I ever learned. And to this day, that is still the first trick that I teach every single baby longhorn that I meet, or every single person that's interested in twirling. So twirling is kind of a generational, you give and you get and you can put in and get out a ton. So my story kind of started on the same beach that I actually got the call that I was the next University of Texas featured twirler. So crazy full circle moment. But since I started twirling in second grade, I've been completely obsessed and the baton truly hasn't left my hand. So I've been fortunate enough to compete for about 10 years. So that's been an awesome journey. But you kind of start shopping around schools in elementary or middle school. And of course, the biggest and the best in football, in advertising, which is my major, and in all things big SEC is Texas. So that was the goal from very early on. And I'm so fortunate that the timing worked out. As you'd mentioned, there's an incredible legacy of twirlers that came before me. We have the body double for Miss Congeniality. We have a former Miss Texas. We have some incredible people that came in the lineage before me. So I was so fortunate that the timing lined up perfectly. The twirler before me had just finished her tenure at the university, and the position was opening as I was about to be a freshman at the University of Texas. So I tried out, and the same thing has happened with our next twirler, Gracie Williams. I'm so excited to watch her, and she will be an incoming freshman. So it's going to be so awesome to see her 4 years at the university and all the things that she does. But my journey has been so much fun, and that's just kind of the beginning. And I'm sure we'll kind of get into the skills, but being on the field has been the greatest honor, and I'm so lucky that I got to spend all my time here.
I love that. I have so many goosebumps. There's so many things from what you mentioned that I want to get into. And I think just being a student at the University of Texas and seeing Whitney, like Michelle recently mentioned, you notice the feature twirler. Like, it is a position of prestige and importance. And so Aiden, I'm just so proud of you. And I love that you referenced the fact that you looked to the women before you to like gain influence on what you wanted to even be, because that's something that I think we all do. And on campus as a student, I looked ahead of me to upperclassmen, and it's what made me wanted to become a football recruiter. Actually, the girls who were upperclassmen, they were doing that, and I was like, okay, I look up to them. They're leaders on campus, and so that story is amazing. But I want to talk to you about, like you saying, the timing lined up. Me and Michelle spent time last fall with some of the recruits. They were at a camp for the feature twirler role, and it's 15 girls we're staring at, and we know it's one girl in the role. And also, I noticed from getting exposure to the other SEC schools, because you mentioned that, seeing Bama, for example, they've got a line of twirlers, and that's also awesome, and that's their culture, and ours is different with a feature twirler. So I want to hear about, like, what gave you the confidence to know this was going to be your role, and just give us a little bit more of that background and process to like how you became the feature twirler.
Absolutely. I remember growing up with a motto, and it's kind of always stuck with me. My parents always said anything is possible with attitude and hustle. So although it's been an honor to be the one, and it's actually pretty cool, Texas Prom gets to wear chaps and cheer and mascot, and everyone gets to kind of have their own uniform, their own special thing. The University of Texas Longhorn Band gets to wear their fringe, but the one thing that's unique to the University of Texas feature twirler position is you are the only person in the stadium in crystals. So you get to stand on the 50-yard line covered in Swarovski crystals, taking it all in. I still remember the first time that I heard the Eyes of Texas and Texas fight standing on the 50-yard line, and I cried, just same as my first time and my last time. It's the most special moment, but the position is incredibly unique and very prestigious because there is only one spot. So there is one drum major, one feature twirler, and one of the world's largest drum, which we know is Big Bertha 2. She just got retired after about 100 years, I believe, Big Bertha 1. So it's pretty cool that there's kind of three main things that you look at preceding the football team, like kind of out onto the field on game days. So the University of Texas Longhorn Band is led by a drum major, and a twirler. And then the football team runs out in the opposite direction. So it kind of creates this interesting visual appeal. But I'm only the 34th twirler in over 125 years of Longhorn Band. So there was obviously a time where women weren't allowed at the University of Texas, or women weren't allowed in Longhorn Band. And we've come so far as a university, but to have that deep tradition and to only be the 34th in history has been incredibly special. Obviously, it's pretty cool to share a number with a retired football player and a Heisman winner. So that's been amazing. And I've gotten to meet him a few times, iconic number 34, Ricky Williams. So that's been awesome. But the position is very prestigious, and it does just come with the culture of the school. Obviously, like you mentioned, the University of Alabama Crimsonettes are incredible about gaining exposure to baton twirling and kind of what a different kind of majorette style of twirling looks like, as opposed to what Texas style twirling looks like. It's all different, but it's all great exposure for a sport that's kind of considered a dying art in today's day and age. There's so much expansion in competitive cheer and dance. And while twirling is having a bunch of that expansion behind the scenes, it's not as public. So again, being part of the SEC, where there's tons of twirlers, there's positions that are singular, like at the University of Georgia and the University of Texas. And then there's also major twirling lines like the University of Alabama Crimsonettes and the Auburn Tiger Eyes. So that's been really cool to have a sisterhood there. Every single time that I travel, it's always such a joy to see other twirlers and cheer each other on. I can always spot whoever else is in crystals on the field. So there's a unique sisterhood, but obviously there's fun traditions that come with it. This year was the first time that I'd gotten to twirl fire. Actually, it was last year. I got to twirl fire in Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium with the new turf. So obviously twirling fire is dangerous. It's not fake fire. Sometimes people ask me kind of, is it real? Is it illusion? No, it's completely real fire. And like you mentioned, we have an awesome sisterhood of twirlers that came before me. So my coach Whitney is crazy enough to work with me on creating a perfect formula of white gasoline, kerosene, camping fuel, table salt, and a couple other wacky chemicals. We mix it up in her garage and soak the batons, and we have a whole performance ritual for being on the field. But that's been really cool to share with all of my Longhorn fans, and to get to hear Thunderstruck and perform Wabash Cannonball with Texas Palm kind of in the corner facing the band in the student section is definitely one of my favorite memories at the University of Texas. So that's been a lot of fun, but it's definitely a super unique position being the only one. And it's a tradition just as unique as the University of Texas itself. So that's been a lot of really cool experience.
I mean, like Devin, you're like taking us back. Like we're getting all the emotions. Like I remember, I remember you doing the fire because a couple years ago, Devin and I we went back and did
That's exactly
alumni.
what I was thinking about. I knew you were going to bring that. I love it.
Yeah. So the alumni, we won't know what will really happen, of course, with SEC and what will happen. But of course, being on Texas Palm, we got to go and do Wabash. And I remember you guys being in the corner and doing the fire and all the things. So that's super exciting. I couldn't do that myself, but, love that for you. We, of course, did, certain things and trainings, and all of us have been in different sports. What do you guys have any kind of camps that you do, or like training in that sense of how you learn how to do all this?
Yeah, so twirling kind of has a unique trajectory in terms of how people become college twirlers. So I'll get into that, as well as a program that we've created at the University of Texas to kind of bring new people in and show them what University of Texas twirling is all about. So first of all, twirling is mainly competition based. So just like you can become a dancer or a cheerleader, both in the NFL or at the college level, lots of times you're starting in a local dance studio, and you're starting when you're really young, learning basics. So just as much as there is kind of the basics of ballet that can train you to be a really strong dancer with great technique, you have to follow those in twirling. So there's lots of elements of both cheerleading and dance, as well as a little bit of gymnastics when you start to get to a higher level. So most twirlers usually start with something like that in order to find baton twirling. Lots of times it's a generational thing, especially in the South. You did it because your meemaw did it and your mom did it. And you get a baton put in your hand and a giant bow put on your head when you're about 1 or 2. So there's a couple of those that I know. I coach some 2-year-olds right now, which is always such a hoot. But so it can kind of be interesting how different people get into it, or they see a twirler and it's kind of a story like mine, where they're just so fascinated and they've never seen anything like it. And it kind of shows like a rhythmic gymnastics at first is the most basic understanding of it. So you definitely have to develop those skills over time. And that looks like recreational performances and kind of being in a little studio. And that goes up to parades. And then you become a competition twirler. So there's all different kinds of events. And again, this is something that's very foreign to people that don't know baton twirling. So I have about 14 different kinds of routines that compete in a competition. Some include tossing a baton, some include multiple batons, using different levels of planar movement and different timing of 3 and 4 and 5 batons. And then there's also elements of twirling where you actually don't release the baton, and it's more of a test of timing and technique and dance. So there's kind of a variety of skills that all help you to become a college twirler eventually. So the competition system, both created by the National Baton Twirling Association and the United States Twirling Association, kind of create a system of elements and routines that help people to eventually reach the elite level and audition to be college twirlers. So lots of us grew up competing. I know I competed from, I think, the age of 12 to now today, and I'll continue to compete all the way until August. So that's a lot of fun, and we'll get into that later. But at the University of Texas, we also kind of wanted to show just how unique our program is and how unique our university was, because we know that being a college twirler at any university is an honor, and that's the final end goal for so many people, including me when I started twirling. But the University of Texas just has something special. There's 100,000 fans, over 100,000 fans, who are cheering you on. Every single person you meet will throw a hook'em back in response to a sparkly costume, or is just so willing to learn and willing to cheer you on. So we have an incredible, incredible program here, and the support is something I've never seen at any other university. So our whole goal was we were able to take twirler recruits, or people that signed up and applied to have the game day experience. For years, we were able to take them on the sidelines with the University of Texas Longhorn Band, and they were just able to stand on the sidelines and take things in from the field. which is not an experience that many people get. Being on Texas Prom, the echo, like the energy, you can feel Smokey the Cannon like in every cell of your body, and you hear the thunderous applause, and it's just something completely unique. But that wasn't enough for me. I wanted people to know what it was like to physically stand on that football field and to look up into the crowd and see the support and see how many people were cheering you on. We're so excited for twirling. So working with some of our alumni, we were able to create a system where we could have twirlers join us on the field for a performance. So that was kind of a group routine that we did together. And then I stepped off the field and they were able to do their own choreography, which is another skill that you have to have as a college twirler. So often I'm at a donor event or a little side performance outside of Texas football where someone will play Texas Fight and you have a baton in your hand and there's an audience member who's like, do a trick. And you're like, yeah, what do I do? Yeah. So kind of capitalizing on improv and being able to talk eloquently about the university and all of the different things that we get to experience. That's kind of what we wanted to show with this program. So this is the Twirler for a Day program. So twirlers got to shadow me all day through sometimes 5 a.m. practices, doing your hair and makeup multiple times, different media appearances, parades like Bevo Boulevard and Stadium Stampede, all the way through the pregame performances. And then they got to join me on the field for Wabash between the third and fourth quarters at a football game. So that's been seriously one of my favorite memories, just to see people's face light up when they were like, okay, I can sit in the stadium and I can see how this is cool. And it's awesome, but I can't really picture myself at the University of Texas. So it's been awesome to have twirlers be on the field with me and to kind of share that experience. And what's even more special is getting to look into that group and see maybe one of the twirlers here could be the next future twirler for the University of Texas. In this year's case, that was absolutely true. Gracie is an incredible twirler, and I cannot wait to watch her in plain clothes for the first time in my life. Maybe a jersey and jeans with a Dr. Pepper in hand. That's going to be a wild feeling. But she actually got to twirl on the field with me during Wabash, and I remember seeing her face light up, and there was just truly a facet to the performance that you cannot get anywhere else when you're on the field in DKR. So that's been incredibly special. So both through recreational programs and competitive twirling, that kind of prepares you to be at the level to be a college twirler, but we really try to indoctrinate and get people's blood running burnt orange by pulling them onto the field with us and having those twirlers see firsthand what it's like to be on the field at the University of Texas. So that's kind of what we've done to prepare people, and it's been so much fun. We also did a very similar thing at basketball games. So I had twirlers join me for a halftime performance at women's basketball, both in the Irwin Center and the Moody Center. And actually the final halftime performance ever at the Frank Irwin Center was our Twirler for a Day basketball performance. So that was a really special memory from my freshman year. And I've just seriously had so much fun sharing the experience with high school, elementary, middle school, and twirlers from every single walk of life. So that's been super fun.
R.I.P. Irwin Center. Oh,
I know.
And if not everyone wants to be a part of UT after hearing you talk. But I know it's now hard. You're going to be an alum. We want to hear about that. First, let's take a moment to hear from our sponsor, Luxe Kitchen and Bath.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
Okay, so I feel like humility is a part of the role, but like, Aiden, we need to talk about the fact that you had to command, you mentioned it, 100,000 fans, and it's all eyes on you in many moments. Like, talk us through what that takes, like how you got yourself mentally ready, what the coaching program is to get you ready for that, and sort of what goes into that role, because it's big. And the twirlers that I've seen, including you, are able to do it where we really are focused on what you're doing.
Absolutely. So the first thing that starts is obviously we teach people about the university, and the level of being a college twirler is kind of that idea of the top 1%. It's the aspiration of every single twirler when they start is usually to be a college twirler or to win some kind of big title, but everyone wants to work up to that. So there's a skill that's expected of every single college twirler. So with that comes a big responsibility, but specifically the audition process at the University of Texas is very unique. It's a multi-step process, so it doesn't just look like sitting down for an interview and proving that you can chuck the baton super high and catch it. And it's not about having the sparkliest costume. It's about being a completely well-rounded individual. So again, we have a super incredible alumni network, and they're all over the world and they're doing incredible things. And I think that that is not a coincidence. The audition process for me was a little unique just because of COVID, but it was a mainly twofold process. So the first was completely virtual, and that was kind of like a job application. So it looked like a resume, a cover letter, letters of recommendation, an essay, headshot, and kind of what I looked like in performance, as well as a pretty open-ended performance video option. So there was a certain time requirement, but you were encouraged to show what you twirled like on the field. So whether that be at your high school or any performance before college. And that was also, they encouraged you to show kind of what your own twirling style looked like. So you'll be able to tell if you've ever seen twirlers before me. They may have done things wildly different. I love to tumble and I have a super huge personality, but some twirlers are more into the ballet side, and some twirlers toss a lot lower but do a lot more intricate and delicate things. So there's just different styles. So they really wanted you to be able to show your own style in the audition process. So once you made it past the first round, there's what I call the invisible second round, and that's getting into the university. As y'all know, being on Texas Pom, University of Texas prides itself on its athletes not only being incredible athletes, but also being well-rounded individuals. There's no backdoor process on getting into the university. You have to be accepted fully as a student on your own accord before you can continue the process of auditioning. And that's pretty much the same for a lot of sports and arts at the University of Texas, which I think is very special. So that second step was essentially, once you made it past the first round, you had to have a acceptance letter to be able to present at the final process in person at the University of Texas, whether that looked like auditioning in DKR, on like in an arena, in an auditorium. It's looked different every single year. My year was very different. There was another uptick in COVID, unfortunately, the week before I was supposed to come audition live at the University of Texas. So the gym that I trained in from the age of 12 years old all the way until now when I'm 21, that's where I auditioned for my dream job. So it was crazy that I caught my very first one spin, which is like when you toss the baton up with your thumb and you do one spin and you catch it. That's like the first trick that everyone learns. So all the way from that very first one spin to my final audition at the University of Texas, it was in my home gym, which is completely wild. My dad was blocking the door, and my mom was holding the Zoom camera, being sure that everyone could see me on the band side and on the athletic side. So the process is very unique. But this year, it was an in-person process that took place in the bubble. So that was super cool. That's our indoor football facility for those that haven't been. But so it's kind of two-step, but you do have to get into the university yourself. So that audition process prepares you to kind of accept all that pressure. And like you said, it is eyes on you. So you're covered in sparkles. Sometimes you're wearing chaps. Sometimes you're covered in head to toe crystal fringe. So there's kind of no hiding. So if you drop or you slip, sometimes you have to be able to deal with 142 degrees is the hottest I ever saw the turf at the University of Texas on a temp gun. Your hands are going on that turf. You hope that your baton isn't hitting that turf. I've melted shoes, tights, costumes, chaps, just about everything. But you also may be dealing with a rainy game day or fire batons. You may be dealing with wet turf under your feet, but a fiery baton that's spraying gasoline into your eyes. You simply never know what you have to deal with. So it's always interesting to kind of see what your challenges are going to be, but the audition process prepares you for that. You'll have to know how to improv, but you also create your own routines. So there's no set routine to Texas Fight, or every twirler kind of gets to develop their own style regarding that. So the audition process is very sure to see your own style, be sure that you can improv and that you can talk. I know that I was definitely prepared. They said, what if you get off the field and someone sticks a mic in your face when you have a heartbeat of 190 and you're sweating and you just kind of want to take a break? What would you do in that situation? So you kind of have to be prepared for everything. So that audition process is strenuous, and mine took about 8 months from front to back, but it's very sure to go holistically to find a twirler that can do every single element of the job, all the way from teaching to being an ambassador to dealing with the pressure of, again, 100,000 eyes being on you and you being one of 2 names that are announced before the University of Texas Longhorn Band plays its first note. They always say, I remember what the intro was this year because my very best friend was the drum major. It said, your band is led onto the field by Jaden Walker and Aiden Mentry, and you hear your name, and then it's the first beat of music, and that's the start of a Texas football game. So lots of pressure, but I felt very prepared by the audition process. And of course, our incredible alumni and band directors have been nothing but supportive. And obviously about 20 hours of practice a week plus game day practice never fails to prepare you. So you kind of got to work up that stamina and you get used to the pressure. But I've grown over the past 4 years, and you definitely have to learn to adapt to every single situation. But it's been an awesome journey, and I've definitely learned a lot over the time here.
Man, bringing us all the feels. So now, of course, you said you're still in competition until August.
Yes, so that's kind of the end of my journey. Lots of people don't know whether twirling has a professional component. Obviously, y'all see lots of Texas pom girls are ending up auditioning for Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders or incredible other opportunities within the dance and cheer worlds, but they also become choreographers, coaches, judges. So that's kind of what twirling looks like for me. There's no professional twirling. You don't see twirlers at NFL games yet, maybe in the future. That'd be super cool. But so my journey will end in August. This past August and July, I was in Team USA trials, which for us is like our Olympics. So we have world championships every 4 years. And I was chosen as one of 4 individuals to represent the United States in my particular event. So it's a 1 baton event that uses the full floor. So it's actually very similar to twirling on a college field. There's lots of tumbling and musicality in the routine I'll be doing, which is called artistic twirl. So you're given a piece of music and you are allowed to interpret it in any way that you see fit. There's obviously requirements on how much time you're allowed to use and the elements you're allowed to compete and put on the floor. But again, that's a lot like college twirling. So my time at the University of Texas really prepared me for that. And I know that I would not have been able to accomplish that lofty goal of not only being the UT twirler, but also making it on the world team. This is like our Olympics. So my time at UT really prepared me for that. So that's been awesome. But you get a piece of music and you get to interpret it how you want. You get to wear whatever costume you feel is necessary, do your makeup however you want, and show what you can do with that piece of music and however your style exudes it. So I will perform that event in Torino, Italy, which is actually a former Olympic city. So that's super cool to have that piece of history with me. But that will be August 2nd through August 9th. And I'm super excited that I'll actually probably have a live stream link, which is something that's kind of newer. So people back home and Longhorns alike and fans will be able to watch me, and all of the rest of the United States competitors, as well as competitors all across the world representing their countries, get to live out their big dream. And that will be my final performance. So I will continue to compete at the United States Twirling Championships in the next couple of months, as well as Texas State Championships and a regional level championship, all the way working up to the World Championships and Nations Cup in Torino, Italy, again in August. But after that's done, I absolutely cannot wait to attend a University of Texas football game for the first time as a fan. Since I could remember, in about 5th grade, had known of UT to be this crazy good school for marketing and advertising, which is what I study. And I knew that I wanted to go there. So I've never actually been a fan without skin in the game. So I'm really excited to just, again, sit there with a Dr. Pepper, maybe even a hot dog if I'm feeling crazy, and get to watch the game and watch the next Twirler shine and see the Longhorn Band for the first time from a fan's perspective rather than being on the field. But after that, I hope to continue to be a coach and a choreographer, which is currently what I do, as well as work on the institutional side of baton twirling to hopefully progress it to eventually be an Olympic sport, and also to work on the scoring system. So right now we use paper score sheets, and we don't have many ways to share twirling with the outside world. So working to publicize it, and as an advertising major, obviously that's my personal goal, and everything is to kind of get things publicized. But I want to work on the institutional side as well as what I currently do, which is coaching costume design. So lots of people don't know I design all of my own costumes at the University of Texas. It starts with an old iPad, and I draw with my finger. Every single rhinestone is drawn on, and then eventually hand placed by me in my little dorm room. So that's been a lot of fun, but I hope to continue once I'm not an athlete any longer after I finish this August, doing all different things and trying to further the sport in any way I can. But it's truly given me everything. And obviously I've learned to interview. There's interviewing components of twirling. It's helped me to learn what I'm super passionate about in my career. It's helped me to network. So there's tons of opportunities that twirling has provided for me. So I hope to continue to give back to the sport and the university, because it has truly given me so much. So I can't wait to stay involved after I'm done as an athlete, which is kind of bittersweet to say, but what a better way to finish it up than representing my country, which was a goal that I never even thought possible. Same with being the University of Texas Twirler. So it's truly the honor of a lifetime, and I can't wait to I actually have a hidden Longhorn in my costume, so represent both my university and the United States of America. So that's going to be super fun as a kind of final tie a little bow on it and end the journey in a super special way. So I'm very excited.
We love it. And you're representing the university beautifully, and you will do the same for our country, Aiden. This has been so nice. I'm also a comm school grad, so you will have a world of adventure ahead of you. I'm so excited to get that live link for your competition and also just see where you take the world of twirling. It's just been really interesting to learn more about it. And so thank you so much for joining the Girl Herd today. And we wish you the best of luck in all your future endeavors. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.